Welcome back to Two Gals and a Glass Half Full. Are you a busy mom that's exhausted, running around? You are going to want to listen to today's episode. I'm super excited. We have a special guest, Nikki, with us, and we're going to talk about how can we live and not be exhausted, and also how important is what we say to ourselves. But before we get started, Dr. Jess, what is in your glass?
I am on the last bit of my coffee this morning, so it's somewhat warm still. It's taken me a little while to finish this cup, but that's okay because I've already had 2 glasses of water, so that's got to count for something, right? Uh, so Dr. Bobbie, what's in your glass?
So this morning was a little crazy. I did not get my coffee. I did not get my water. I ran out of the house with a dog getting sick and me begging my parents behind me to clean up after her. So I have just some sparkling water. You can't see. There you go. So it's like cherry sparkling water.
There
So
we
I
go.
have a little water, a little carbonation, no caffeine.
You know, you gotta do what you can. And with us today, we've got Nikki Cheek, is that right?
Yep.
I just might make sure I say the last name correctly. And so Nikki, before you give your intro of like who you are and why we are like super excited to talk to you, what's in your glass?
I have my coffee this morning that I just recently started drinking coffee with my chai protein mixed in as my creamer, and I'm absolutely loving it. And then I also have my water, and I keep with my probiotics and electrolytes in it.
Nice. Which probiotics do you put in your water?
It just ingredients. So I use her probiotic sticks.
Got it. Okay. Very
Yep.
cool. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
great. They keep me going.
exactly. Yeah. So that way you're getting a ton in when you drink that cup of water, you're getting like a lot of stuff done. I love that.
Yeah,
Love like the efficiency of building everything together.
I have to.
Yeah. So Nikki, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Nikki Cheak. I am a certified health and wellness coach, and I am the mom of 3 incredibly active boys. I like to tell people that I know what I'm doing every day by what colors are on my calendar. We live by like a color-coded calendar system in our house. And I started coaching, especially around exhausted moms, because when I had my third kid, I just totally hit rock bottom. Like I was always exhausted. It didn't matter what I did. I could be trying all the things out there. But what I didn't realize is that until I really started putting everything all together, that it wasn't making a difference. So I could be working out, but I was still eating like crap. Or I could be I could be eating really well, but I wasn't working out and I wasn't sleeping and my stress levels were really high. And so until I really started putting everything all together, I didn't really understand like why I was still so exhausted. And so when I finally recognized that this was part of putting it all together and really talking, like being positive too, that's such a big thing. That's when I realized like, okay, I'm now out of this exhaustion, this absolutely awful exhaustion. Now I can help other moms do the same. And I've always wanted to make an impact on others' lives. And I'm so excited to be able to do this like every day and help moms because we're important people. We keep everything together.
Yes, and I think moms is such a special population. I did not understand it until I became one.
Yeah.
And it's there's just so much. You're always being pulled in a different direction. And it's hard, and a lot of times we feel guilty if we actually focus on ourselves and do something for ourselves. But I think that's the only way we can then continue to give and give and give.
Yes, 100%. 100%. If you don't, it's kind of like the saying, if you don't put your oxygen mask on first on an airplane, right? Like you can't help other people. So you have to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. I think that ties into this whole concept of belief system. And
Mhm.
so, how does, like, from your perspective, how does one's belief system affect their physical health?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because your beliefs actually affect your mind and your body. So your mind and body have such a connection, right? And when you're believing negative things and when you have negative thoughts, it actually decreases your immune system. So when you are thinking positively and you're in a much better positive mental state, your immune system and your energy levels actually go up. And so that is because of that, it actually helps reduce your stress. So positive thoughts reduce your stress, right? Negative thoughts actually increase your stress. They impact your overall health. They can impact weight gain because your cortisol levels are going up. And so really just focusing on the positive and believing in the good, it goes up so much. I was having a conversation with my kids the other day, actually around this, and was talking to them about one of my friends who I swear I really never ever hear her say anything positive when I talk to her. I'm like, can you just like, let's be positive today? Like, and and then I feel myself like walking away so much more stressed and so much more tense after I talk to her. I'm like, okay, I need to like come back here, come back to the face. And they were like, well then mom, like, just, don't talk to her. I'm like, well, I can't, like, that's not me. It's not my stress, but I can see it in her though, too. Right. I can see it, the stress building in her.
Yeah. I think I resonate like with all of that, right?
Yeah.
So there's times where you're just so much better at seeing that positive, and that it's like, oh my gosh, like this is great, this is great, this is great. And we've got this that we need to deal with, or that. And when you still have those things that you need to deal with, they're just not as bad because you're just in a better space.
Mhm.
And that better space is because you're looking at things with this lens of positivity.
Right.
Of like, it's this, but I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like I was like, our rule in the house is like, is if the bone's not pointing in the wrong direction, then like we don't need to like scream as if it is, right? So I kind of like use that metaphor of like, it's not a bone pointing in the wrong direction, so like we can handle that. However, right, because we're, it's looking at it so with a lens of positivity. But then there's times where you definitely like, I don't know, it's like that interaction you had with somebody, and then another, and then another, and then another. And like all of a sudden, as the day goes on and days clump together, and then you're like, wow,
Yeah.
I need some different glasses. Like
100%.
I am not looking at things like I normally look at things. And because like all of a sudden everything is hard, like even the small stuff, you're like, all right, like take a step back, like this isn't working. And it's just how
100%.
you look at it and which lens are you looking at it. It just, everything is different that way.
Yeah, it's so true. And I've noticed it even in my own kids when we reframe things with them, right? And we challenge them. Not only does it change their perspective, but it also helps change our perspective and helps
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah. They build.
Yes, I can tell. Like, it's so easy to get into that negative side. Anyone that's listened for a little bit knows I have a 10-month-old that has sleeping issues. And so that means I am lucky if I get a little bit of sleep at night that is longer than like 2 hours, so 3 hours at a time. And so, except last night, I got 6.5, so I'm feeling good today. But there'll be, and it always seems like on my days off are the nights she does not sleep. So on the days off, when I have all of this planned to get done, are the days that I'm like exhausted, not feeling good because I've been up all night. And so it took a little bit for me. I have to remind myself when it's like nap time for her, and like she won't nap because she's overexhausted at this point. Like when I lay down with her in my head, initially I'm like thinking of all the things I should be doing while she's sleeping. And once in a while, if I just kind of like lay with her and I'll look at her and like I see her sleeping soundly, like I just feel my body relax, being like, I'm not going to have these moments for long. And so just like once in a while, it's obviously not every time she naps, but once in a while on those days, like just allowing myself to lay with her and enjoy that time and to let my body relax too and let my body get some sleep. But it's hard because you're laying there, you're thinking, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this, instead of enjoying the moment with her.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
It helps so much just to like refocus, like you said, like refocus the gratitude piece of it, right? Like you're grateful that for the time that you have with her, so you're able to then kind of let everything else go.
mhm. And
But
so
it's work to do that.
Yeah,
it is. It's all work. That's the real answer. Like when people say like, well, I can't just be positive, right?
Mhm.
Like it's just not like that. So like when somebody comes with you with a statement like that, right? That's belief
Yeah.
system. So what are some ways that you help to see them or strategies to help cultivate that more positive mindset?
Yeah. So I want them to start each day with an affirmation. It's some sort of positive statement in their head. Like literally right when they wake up, when their eyes open, they need to start saying something, right? And it could be something as I am capable to get through today's challenges. I am going to embrace every day today with energy and enthusiasm. But I want people to start saying that right when they wake up, because when you start to fill your head with positivity right when you wake up, you automatically shift. So that's one thing that I do. And it takes no time. The things that I think I hear a lot of is like, well, I don't have time to be positive, or I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time. But you really do, because it doesn't take any time. It's things that you're already doing. So that's the first thing. Gratitude is something that I have really incorporated a lot over the last couple of years, and it's changed drastically in the way that I think about things. So I actually do it twice a day. Once when I'm in the shower, because and it's super informal, and it's like, okay, what are the 3 things that I'm going to be grateful for today? You know, what are those quick 3 things? And then I do it again at night, and I do it a little bit more formally, and I write them down along with all the wins that I had for that day. And that really shifts the focus, right? We were talking about it from the challenges to the things that you have and that you are grateful for. So that would be the second piece of second strategy. And then the third one is something that I've started incorporating more and more recently, but it's just short mindfulness, short meditation, right? Like it's one of those things that I used to think was like so out there and super woo woo. And now I really understand that, like, even if I just take 5 minutes, 2 minutes, right? It could just be 2 minutes to do some deep breathing. It really resets your nervous system. And so you're able to come back and not feel as stressed or as snappy, or, like you're not going to just blow off the gasket when you're frustrated.
There's so much power in breathing. And, Dr. Jess and I call it pausing. Just pause for a second. Like take those few deep breaths
Yeah.
before you think, before you say, before you act, before you do anything. Like calm your body down, calm your emotions down for whatever it is, and then move forward. And it really only is a few seconds that's needed to kind of change that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also sounds like it's habit forming. So because that's like, we work with patients all the time, and a lot of what we're working on is developing new positive habits so that what we're working on actually becomes lifestyle change, which is how whatever we're currently working on to get somebody out of pain or moving in a better way will maintain for the long term. And so it's, well, I've tried that and it didn't work. It's what we hear. And it's so it's hard because like when you look at it from this perspective of this is like lifestyle, so it's not trying it. You didn't try lifestyle. Like lifestyle is just living it. There's no trying it once and it didn't work. So how do you help people really like reframe that, like, because that's a concept that it's everything, like everything you're talking about really comes into implementing this into lifestyle change.
Yes.
And really kind of giving people like a bit of a different definition of trying something versus implementing something that will be continued every single day for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Like that's a shift.
It's a huge shift. And something that I often tell and work with a lot of my clients on is like, okay, at the end of the day, you're going to go to bed. We all go to bed, right? How do you want to feel at the end of the day? Do you want to be proud of the things that you accomplished? Or do you want to feel like you phoned it in? Because if you want to feel like you phoned it in, then you don't have to make the changes. But at the end of the day, then tomorrow you're going to feel the same way. So we really talk a lot about like, when you go to bed at night, are you going to be proud of the changes that you made? Or are you going to regret those changes, those things that you didn't do? And so that's one of the biggest things that we talk about a lot. But the other thing too is not trying to do everything all at once, because that's where I think a lot of moms like they just come in and they're like, okay, but I want to have more energy. I want to eat better. I want to sleep better. I want to, I want to be exercising and doing all the things. And it's like, okay, well, that's really great. And I want to look at that whole vision of what you want for your life. But I also want to take it in bite-sized chunks because we also recognize all of the other things that you have going on, right? And when you start to take on too much all at once, that's when the overwhelm creeps in. And then that's when people stop the habits because they don't have time, or they're too overwhelmed, or they can't, figure out where to go next. And so taking it that little step at a time. So if the only change that you make is that you start saying a positive affirmation every morning when you wake up, and that's the only change you make for a week or 2 weeks, in my book, that's a win.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So if the only change you make is something small, it's 1% better than you did yesterday.
Yeah.
That I had to learn very early on after having a child that I'm older. So when you're having a child older, I've had 30 some odd years, 38 years before, of like my own plans.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a kid, and I still had this career. I still had these goals. I had all this stuff I wanted to do. And I'm used to making a list and getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things I had to learn very early on is I set one goal for the day. And if I got that one thing done, and sometimes that could be making the bed, sometimes that was giving her a bath, like it's not these extravagant project goals for work and things like this. It's like one goal, doing a load of laundry.
Wow.
That was my rule, is I can set myself one goal. And I realized that helped me a lot, because then it's like, what needs to get done today? Like, where my priority, like where is it headed? And then that's the first thing I need to do and get it done. And I have to be proud of myself if that's the only thing I get done that day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so important that you've set those goals and that you've allowed yourself to recognize that if you only do the one thing, then you feel accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like with changes is similar.
Yeah.
Like, you can't make a ton of changes at one time. I can't make a list of 10 things and expect to get them done with a little one.
Yeah.
No, and then you're constantly defeated and you're set up not for success. You're actually setting yourself up for failure. And then when the failure happens, then it's like, oh, see, like apparently I'm not capable. And then comes into the negative self-talk. And then it's just this vicious cycle. And I just think moms in particular, we're just so good at doing that to ourselves. It's like a strength.
Yeah. It's almost like in some ways we're wired to self-sabotage, right?
Yeah.
Because we can think of all the negative and all the reasons that we shouldn't be doing something, when in reality, those things are the things that we really should be doing to take care of ourselves and move ourselves forward.
Right. Yeah. It's just like that constant putting something else or somebody else in front of you. And the mindset shift that it takes to put you first feels inherently selfish. However, it isn't, because it is the only way you will continue to be able to do all the other stuff in your life, all the other roles, that you'll be able to maintain those effectively when you do put yourself first and you do fill your own buckets, or have people around you that help you fill those buckets, whatever that looks like in your life. But that shift is like, I guess I think when I was pregnant, I had an older patient tell me that. And she's like, you do know coming up that you are going to fail at something every day as a new mom. I was like, what? She was like, no, for real. Like, if you're crushing it at being a mom, you are not going to do as well at work, or as well with interacting with your husband, or as well with something else, because you're really doing well somewhere else. And if you're crushing it at work and you're just doing great, you're not going to be crushing it as a mom. Like, there's going to be stuff that you're missing. No matter what, you are not going to be fully successful at every single role every single day.
Right.
Like, that helped me so much. And she's like, and it's okay. She's like, really, like, it's okay. Like, you're not going to be perfect everywhere, and that's fine. I don't know why that, like, it just hit me in such a way that, like, I needed to hear that prior to the baby coming. Because when I was feeling like that, I was like, wait, she said I would feel like this. Like, this is validating. Like, I'm allowed to feel like this, and it's not bad. What? Like,
Yeah.
like it's like, that's, I don't know why, like, but we need to hear that as women. Like, we have to hear that. It's so helpful that other women are saying it to you, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll take that.
And it's so true. And it's so true. And the like when you start to think about it and the mindset shift that really comes along with it, and really giving yourself grace, but not letting yourself off the hook. That's where, like, giving yourself grace and then saying, oh, it didn't happen 3 days in a row. Well, you can't just give up on yourself either.
Right. Yeah. And that self accountability. And what does that look like? So what are like accountability strategies that you help people with?
Yeah, so a couple things. I work with them on celebrating small wins. So I talked about this a little while ago, but really, when you write down your wins every day, and they could be like something as simple as I unloaded the dishwasher today, or did a little laundry. But when you start writing down your wins, it actually builds your confidence. And so when you're writing them down and you start to see all of the things that you've accomplished, in whether that is in your health journey or as a mom or both, like all the things combined, when you really start to see that, it really starts to set up your self-confidence, and that builds your accountability because you're holding yourself accountable because you're seeing what's going on. And then also, working with a coach obviously is a really great way to help stay accountable for something, but setting up accountability partnerships, whether that's your spouse or a friend, or just a mom group that you're, close to, and having that group feeling, those are some of the best ways that you're going to help stay accountable. I mean, I think other great ways too are, apps where you can, if you're like me, I like to challenge myself, and I see, like, if I miss a day, I'm like, I missed a day, and it threw my whole app off, right? So having even some of those just little challenges too sometimes will help keep you accountable and start to build those habits and build that focus. And then once you realize you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it, you've built that confidence, and you're like, oh, I can do this. Your accountability, then you shift to a different goal and a different habit that you want to start to build.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that Dr. Bobbie and I do for each other. Like, we'll send a quick text of like, hey, this is this is what I'm working on for this week or today, or, I'm just going to tell somebody, that way I can tell them when I finished it. Like,
Yeah.
it just helps. It just does. I mean, that's a quick text. It didn't take that long.
And I know Dr. Jess and I have talked about this, but when you have your to-do list and you do the extra stuff that's not on the to-do list, but it's already done. So you write it on there and check it off.
You cross it off,
There's just something so like rewarding about checking it off, about saying, hey, Dr. Jess, I finished this. It's just like, okay, I have someone to celebrate with me. I get that like little reward. It just, as you said, it builds confidence. It gives you energy. It gives you power to kind of like, okay, I can keep going.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just need to get that ball rolling too. Especially when it comes to fatigue and energy. Just got to get up.
Yes.
Like working out, you just got to put the shoes on. That's the hardest part sometimes.
It is the hardest part sometimes, or just waking up, just getting out of bed, just moving, just walking to the mailbox and back. It's just the smallest things.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I do the, early run days. I do okay, on 5, I'm gonna get up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm sitting up. Now that I'm sitting up, can't lay back down, feet on the floor, please. But like the countdown is like, it just, I don't know why, but it helps. And then once my feet are touching the floor, it's like, okay, I'm this far. Well, if I got this far, well, then I can get to the bathroom, right? Now if I've got that far, well, that's not that bad. Might as well get dressed. I'm already here, right? So like, I just make it these like, it's just enough of a goal that it's like when you're tired, you can accomplish. I can count to 5 and sit up, right?
Yeah.
When I'm laying in bed and I'm picturing running, it's like, I could just lay here. But if I picture just sitting up, it's like, oh, well, that's fine. And then each step, and all of a sudden you're out there and you come in and you're like, I'm so glad I got that done. This was the best way I could have started my day. But I just put these like such easy, basic goals that are achievable. And then it's not overwhelming in the moment when you're comfortable. It's nice and warm. You gotta like disrupt that with an alarm that's making noise. But the reframe of that is that I have the opportunity to be able to add this to my day. I really actually enjoy it. I have a running partner that I enjoy running with. It's a beautiful time of day because the sun is rising. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I'm not missing any time with the kids because they're still sleeping. And then it's like I get my stretching done. I'm coming in, they're waking up, and it's like it's like the best way I can, literally the best way I can start my day. It's just getting out of bed. Woof. That is rough. Like, it is not my strength.
Well, and you've made a commitment to yourself. So you're honoring that commitment, which then builds that confidence to create that.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, it's that small goal, like just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because if I picture running, it's not going to happen. Right. Like, that's too much. It's too much effort right now.
Yeah.
And that's where I think those small goals are important. They come into play. I also think it's saying no to certain things. So you have that time for that to happen. So Nikki, can you talk a little bit on like, what's the importance for busy moms to learn to say no? Like, and how can it positively like affect our energy levels and change in our lives?
Yeah. So saying no is hard for so many of us. And I am so guilty of doing this. And in the past, I would be like, yes, I'll take that on. Yes, I'll volunteer for this. Yes, I'll do this. Right. And I was always exhausted. But when you say no, it actually helps you prioritize the things and save your energy for your most important tasks, your most important relationships. It helps you avoid stress and overcome physical exhaustion. So it really truly helps you just kind of move away from the things that are not serving you. And it's not easy. Like we want to help, we want to do things, we want to be there for other people, but when we're recognizing that it's not doing anything for us except for depleting us, then we're doing nothing good for ourselves. We're just becoming exhausted, drained, and then when we become exhausted and drained and we're stressed, then we start snapping at our kids and we snap at our husbands or our spouses or partners, and we then move away from being excited and energized. And then we move into the dread, right? We move into the dread of everything. It could be the dread of making dinner. It could be the dread of playing with your kids, the dread of giving them a bath, like all of those things because you're so exhausted. So when you do say no and you prioritize those boundaries, then you're able to save that energy for all the things that really do matter to you.
I think it's just so hard. It's hard for us moms. And as we say with anything else, it's a muscle.
Yes.
And the only way that you will strengthen that muscle is to use it. But that's hard.
It's hard. One of the things that's really helped me is like to do just a gut check, right? Really just to like see in my gut, like, is this going to serve me? Or is this like, am I truly excited about this? Or am I not? And if I'm not, then I'm like, okay, maybe the answer is no, or not right now. Like maybe this is just not the season that I'm meant to do this in.
Yeah. And I think each season changes too.
Yeah.
So that's like one thing that I've been going through this year. So my oldest is now in kindergarten. And let me tell you, like once you enter the school years, it changes. And we're just in kindergarten. I mean, there's like field trips, there's like helping with this day, there's this, I mean, there's always something going on at school, which is fantastic. But if you're a working parent, it's just like, am I doing enough as a parent by like trying to help at all of these things? Like, you feel like, am I like abandoning my kid here? Like, how much do I need to attend at like 2 o'clock on a Friday? It's like, that's like smack dab in the middle of patient care,
Right.
So like that's been like a big struggle for me this year is like really understanding how can I keep him supported and feeling valued, right? Because like when I do show up and it's like, Mom, you're here, oh my gosh, and you're just like, okay, like that was validating. I mean, I'm just lucky right now. Like here's the positive of like he actually like gets genuinely excited to see me. I know I am told that will end one day.
Yes, it really does. I'm in that season.
So like, I'm like, it was a lot of work to free up my schedule to get here. But then when I'm here, it's like, okay, that was worth it. However, I can't necessarily like go on every field trip and go to everything. And, so it's like, where can I say no, right? Where do I need to say yes? And for me, that really takes time I actually need to sit and like think about that a little bit, because patient care pays me, right? That's how our business makes money, currently it's the only way our business is really making money. So like, there's like a responsibility there. At the same time, I'm love this phase of my life. It's fantastic. So that's been a really big balancing act. And I've had to really lean on my support system to like ask, like, how much is this me putting guilt on me versus how much do I actually really want to be there? And there's times where like I genuinely just want to be there. Like we'll move the schedule because like this is important. And there's times where it's like, well, maybe, a grandparent can go on the field trip, and, in my place or in my husband's place or something like that. So there's that, but it's tough. Like saying no doesn't just mean, it's not this like, boom. I mean, it really takes a lot of just thought and processing and like, what are my whys? And, it's never going to be perfect.
No.
There's never a perfect balance.
No.
Yeah.
There's not.
I
It's
think-
one of those things that you have to just recognize you're always going to be not giving up, but there's gonna be trade-offs.
Yep. It just
What-
is. That's how it works.
One of my favorite things, and you talked about this already, Jess, that I heard it through, if you know Shonda Rhimes, she is the writer of Grey's Anatomy. And in her book, it's one of my favorite books, Year of Yes, she actually specifically talks about this. And I think it's important that it's coming from someone that is so successful and like done so much. But she says that if I'm succeeding in one area of life, I'm ultimately failing in the other, because someone had asked her, how do you do it all? And her response was, I don't.
Yeah.
I think that's like just so important for everyone to hear, especially coming from someone that is very well known and very successful business, but also a mom. And just to hear her be like, no, I'm not. And I have help and I have people that are helping me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like that doesn't mean I'm successful. She's like, if I'm at work, I'm failing my kids. And if I'm with my kids, I'm failing at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay, right? Like, because we're doing enough. Like, I just see it as a juggling act. If like we're just doing enough to keep it all moving, but then they don't all fall on the ground. And so it's like, and I think this kind of taps into that, like, how do we maintain our energy? Right. So how do we keep that juggle going? Because really it's what it is. So do you have thoughts on that? Like, what are some tips for like keeping the energy, keep the juggle in life?
Keeping the juggle,
Not everything dropping.
Yeah, you don't want it all to drop. And I think that's what you have to like, when you think about juggling, right? There's always a ball in the air, right? And you don't want it to fall and like splatter. So for me, it's the pause that we talked about before, really just taking a pause, taking a breath, like really making sure that is there. I think the other piece of it is staying positive, right? And really just making sure that when you're juggling, when you have all the balls in the air, that you're figuring out what for you is the right thing, the thing that's going to bring you the joy, bring you the energy, and not drain you. Because there are plenty of energy drainers and not enough energy givers sometimes. And it's not going to be the same for everybody, right? It's not. And really just making sure that you're focusing on like making yourself a priority. I know we talked on this a little bit about, the guilt of putting yourself first, but putting yourself first when you're exercising, like finding, even if it's 10 minutes, go take a walk for 10 minutes. Like when you tell yourself, I don't have time to take a walk, what are you filling that time with? scrolling on social media, most likely, or doing something that you probably could put off for 10 minutes. Go outside, take a walk for 10 minutes. That fresh air research has shown that fresh air will boost your energy. The sunlight will help especially with your circadian rhythm, and just really like getting outside. So figuring out what works for you, figuring out what's going to give you the energy, getting outside and giving fresh air, and then making sure that you're not like, this kind of is one of those things that I've had to learn over time, but feeding yourself the right foods, right? And like really nourishing yourself, because when you are a mom, you tend to eat your kids' leftovers, or you'll take your food that's not, you'll just grab something through the drive-through, but at the end of the day, that's going to like totally deplete your energy. And so you really have to focus on making sure you're giving yourself the right foods, making sure that you're like really prioritizing your self-care to keep that energy up.
Yeah, food is huge. I mean,
It's
if I make the wrong choice at lunch, oh man, the whole
Yeah.
afternoon I'm just like,
Yeah.
so how you feeling today? Like,
Exactly.
I'm working so hard to digest, and I'm like, my stomach doesn't feel good. Like I'm just like slogging through the afternoon. Versus like when I eat something that's well balanced, typically like tons of like veggies, like lighter, nothing like real heavy. It's like, hey, how are you? Like, I just ate. I feel great. It's that, I mean, it's like a completely different afternoon. And I think we sometimes don't realize how much food affects how we're feeling. And we make this correlation. Oh, I don't know why I'm so tired this afternoon. It's
Yeah.
like, I try and tell people, like, if you're feeling something, look back prior to that. What led up to that, and see if you can figure out what it was. Because life isn't random. We're gonna just like pop out of the sky and have something happen. There's a rhyme and a reason for pretty much everything. I mean, there's certain things that we're still trying to discover, obviously, but like really, when you do that, like I recently had this happen. It was maybe a couple months ago, where like something that I was eating before just fine, like I had it 2 days in a row, and both days in the afternoon, I was like, my stomach is killing me. I'm super food sensitive. And like I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, there's no way that is bothering me. And then like sure enough, day 3, because I meal prep. So day 3, I took that out, ate it was fine. I was like, okay, well, on to figure out what else I can replace that with. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
which is
it goes
fine.
back to what we talked about at the very beginning, that mind-body connection of like recognizing like your body really does control so much of how you feel.
Oh, for
Mhm.
sure. Oh yeah, we did a whole episode on the gut brain axis.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like I'm drinking that Kool-Aid. It is like so interesting,
Yeah.
with like gut microbiome and how it all functions and how it all works. I mean, really cool stuff. And if you want to check out a cool documentary on Netflix, it's called The Gut Explained.
Mhm.
It's like about an hour and 20 minutes. Pretty, like really pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like, I'm loving the gut microbiome.
Gut
And so
microbiome, it plays so much into your energy too, because if you don't feed your gut, then your energy is completely depleted, right? And so for me, that looks like I don't drink coffee first thing in the morning anymore. So it's 10:20 and I still have a half a cup, and it probably gets warmed up like 3 times, because I make sure that I get my protein. I make sure I get my water with lemon and my breakfast like way before I even touch my coffee anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, not relying on that. Yeah, starting off the day with the run, already finished the smoothie, so it's empty. And then it's like about a quarter of a cup left. Yeah, but it'll have to get reheated at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nikki, tell us a little bit more about, like, if somebody wants to work with you, learn a little bit more about, how they could get in touch with you, like where can they find that information?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on Instagram. My handle is at intentional.wellness.coaching. I also have a free training. It's called Mom's Energy Reset. And it's a 6-day free training for moms to be able to boost their energy in little bite-sized chunks. So you'll get a daily video and an email that will walk you through small things that you can do each day to start boosting your energy. And I look at all of the different facets. So starting off with positivity in your mindset and sleep, nutrition, stress management, and also, celebrating your wins. So that is on my website. So intentionalwellnesscoaching.com. You can find my Mom's Energy Reset training.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
we'll tag everything down below in the description for everyone.
Yeah. And so if anybody watching this episode or listening to this episode found this to like resonate with you, and you can think of somebody that would be like, you know what, I think Jill needs to hear this, right? So like share this knowledge, and hopefully it can impact somebody else in a positive way, because the whole point is to just spread positivity and just little tidbits of information that we can use to help ourselves, but then also help, those people in our community and in our friend groups and family groups, things like that. And then if you like this episode, like and share, subscribe, all the fun stuff, because it really does, like, it helps us continue to grow and continue to be able to get more cool people like Nikki on in order to be able to spread more knowledge. So, all right, everybody, thanks for listening. Stay tuned for next week.